touching upon one of the things that you sort of mentioned there, Verona, on the cities. You mentioned London,
Sure.
and it wasn't enjoying the same uplift as you see in other places. What about the trend? Because you were talking to me before we came on air, actually, and you were talking about the dynamic you're seeing in the market is changed quite a bit in terms of rental and even house purchase, particularly in cities like London.
Yeah. So anecdotally, as we've all been talking to different people over the last number of months, we've seen a lot of people assessing where they live, what they want from their property. And historically, a lot of people lived in London and paid over the odds for their property because they had to live close to the office, or they wanted to be closer to tube lines or train lines, and they traveled into the office every day. As the pandemic has hit and we've all learned a new way of working, and companies have been facilitating remote working because they've had to, we've sort of fast forwarded our work from home regime as a country by probably 10 years in the space of 3 or 4 months. So as a consequence of that, what we've seen in the property market is that people are choosing not to live in a 2-bed apartment without a garden because they want a bit more space. They're realizing they don't have to be close to the office. They're happy to be in the suburbs. They're happy to be further away from the office, happy to come in maybe once a week or even, a couple of times a month, but they don't need to have that commuter close distance to the office. So what that's meant from a rental perspective is we're seeing in September, for example, 70% more rental stock available in London than the same time last year. Now that's completely contradictory to the rest of the country, where it's about 30% down year on year, because people are deciding they need to move out of London, but they don't necessarily want to buy right away because they want to choose where they live or take a bit more time. So we're seeing a real spike in demand from tenants who want to move to suburbs, who want to move out of London, and a real spike in properties coming to market to let in central London, which has been a really, it's so stark when you look at the data. And then if you look at the other side of it, the demand from a tenant in the rest of the country is higher than it's ever been, but demand as tenants for properties in central London is only just up year on year. So I think it's about 3 or 4% up. So that has impacted then the rental yield and the rents that can be charged in central London, but also outside of London. It means that rents are on an upward trajectory.